Hello, everyone. I hope you're well. Today, we'll discuss goodness from a personal point of view. So, generally, when we think about what's the right thing to do and the goodness of our actions, we tend to believe that the goodness is out there somewhere, and we have to find a way to catch it and then act accordingly in the right way. Here, Aristotelian normative ethics, which is considered a virtue ethics, tends to focus our attention somewhere else. You know the saying, if you want to really change the world, you need to change yourself. We are more or less in that kind of vibe. Because for Aristotle, goodness is out of character. And excellence is what we repeatedly do. It's a habit, it's a good habit that we repeatedly put in practice until we reach the excellence, until we reach a better and better way of expressing that quality. So, according to Aristotle, when we try to do the right thing, we don't want to look too much outside. We want to work on ourselves. And inside ourselves, we find a telos. Generally, Aristotle is defined as a teleologist. The word, this strange word comes from Greek, telos, which means goal, and logos, as usual, is the study of the goal. So, according to Aristotle, each one of us has a purpose. We don't forget that Aristotle was a scientist, a complete scientist. I mean, if we just look at a plant, we see that the goal of this plant is to flourish, to grow and flourish and bring fruits and so on. He believes that for human beings as well, we have inside our own goal and a happy life, a good life, eudaimonia. So a flourishing life, actually, because goodness is not exactly the translation of the word eudaimonia that he uses. So a good life is that life in which our purpose can come to the surface. So when we want to act in a good way, it's not that easy because we have a situation that clearly challenges us. Otherwise, we wouldn't question ourselves what's the good way to behave. And in trying to meet this challenging situation, we want to check with ourselves, with the tools we have, meaning the qualities, the virtues, the flaws we have, and we need to decide what's the right course of action. An interesting exercise that Stoics, here I jump a little, but is another virtue ethics. Sometimes the Stoics suggest us to do is to ask ourselves at the end of each day what I did well, what I did wrong, and what I can improve. Because as they rightly noticed in a similar way to Aristotle, is that our life is not that exciting every day, is not that new every day. Some of us wish, but we are repeatedly put in front of the same challenges, the same problems. And if we are capable to reflect at the end of each day what we did right, what we did wrong, and what we can improve, we can get the next day more prepared to the same challenge. You know, a neighbor that tends to do a behavior that is always annoying in a certain way for us, or I don't know, a task that we do a job and we don't complete as good as we want. So this kind of exercise is a way to train our virtues and to reflect on our flaws and improve them. Another tip that Aristotle gives us is the golden mean. meaning when we are undecided about how to face a situation, how to improve a certain quality of ours and overcome an ethical impasse, we shouldn't follow the extremes. So we shouldn't try to live at one best or worst extreme, but always trying to find the middle. I don't know, an example that I often give in my classrooms is if we see a couple fighting in a worrisome way next by to you, what would you do? One extreme, at least to my way of thinking, one extreme would be to jump into this discussion and tell, hey, maybe one of them became violent, and so I stop this person and say, you shouldn't behave like this. I will call the police and so on. This would be one extreme. Another extreme would be clearly to ignore the couple and keep going, thinking, yeah, but this is their business. It doesn't matter to me. There's a golden mean, which would be, I don't know, to alert someone who has the power to actually intervene and do something, or to call someone else, or I don't know, to now we are being sensitized to these problems, especially on public transportations. So sometimes just being there, standing next to them would be a way to smoothen the tones and see if someone needs actual help. So this is an example to say that whenever we are in an ethical problem, in an ethical dilemma for us, and we want to work on our qualities of being good persons, trying to do the right thing in that situation, the golden mean, besides these three questions, could be a useful tool that we can use in our kit, in our set of ethical behaviors to work on ourselves. Now, what's the downside of this school, which every time we reflect on a particular ethical, philosophical approach, there's always a downside. Unfortunately, virtue ethics has the downside of being bound to a certain society. What is good is always good based on the average of the moral characters of the people living in that society. So in that, for example, Kant's ethics is free from that, because Kant speaks in terms of the universality of goodness, of the duty, the moral imperative, this starred sky that is inside of you, and you want to follow it because it is the right thing. In the case of Aristotle, it's your character does not come out of nothing. It's not something universal, but it's your character that is within a society. It is intersubjectively bounded to other characters and so on. So the problem is that if you live in a society where moral characters are in general corrupted, um, it's quite hard to find what is ethically good. Again, unfortunately, the Holocaust and concentration camps and Nazism and totalitarianism in general offer a good example of all that is wrong that we experience as society. During totalitarianism, uh, giving away human beings to be tortured was considered the right thing to do, was considered the virtuous thing to do. The morally irrepressible character was the one obeying to the orders and just doing what the government, the laws had established. So clearly, in a society that is on general corrupted, it's hard to um, understand this telos that we have inside of us, because the situation outside is always challenging, and it brings us to make a deeper effort to connect with this principle of goodness that we want to bring forth in order to fulfill ourselves, in order to function as human beings. That's why for Aristotle, feelings, emotions, virtues are interconnected to each other, because it might be that you decide to do something right, something that is considered right, but inside yourself there's a feeling, an instinct that tells you that this doesn't work. So in order to not fall prey of a certain corrupted behavior that is considered good by the society, but it doesn't work for us. Feelings are and instincts are another important instruments we have in our toolkit to check if we are on the right path. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoy this little pill, and see you next week. Bye, everybody.